All right, welcome to lesson 58. This is fractions, decimals, and percents. Now, fractions, decimals, and percents are all part of a whole. If you have a number that's not a whole, it's either a fraction of a whole, a percent of a whole, or a decimal of a whole. And by the time you are done with 5th grade, you need to know how to convert fractions to decimals, decimals to percents, percents to fractions, fractions to percents, fractions to decimals. Every which way, you need to know how to use fractions, decimals, and percents. And up on the board, I have just the half mark, just as a starting point for us. And as you can see, there's lots of ways to write a half. For example, you could draw it, right? I have a shape there, cut it right down the middle and shaded half of it. And then you could represent it like a fraction. You put 1 over 2. Or you could write 50%, because 50% of that shape is shaded, half of it. You could also write the decimal. And if you have the percent, then the decimal is very easy to write because you just have to put a decimal point. So, or 0.5. Now, you could put 0.5 as well. We'll change the value of it, or 0.50. But it's very easy. Once you have the percent, you just put a decimal in front of it. Okay? 25% would be 0.25. 10% would be 0.10, 95% would be 0.95. 105% will be 1.05, a whole and 5% more. Because you got 100% on the test plus a little bit more. All right. I want you to understand that a decimal, fraction, and a percent are all part of a number that could be expressed as part of 100, part of a whole. Okay? So this 50% is 50 out of 100. It's the same thing as saying you have 50 out of 100. You get 50 questions out of 100 right on a test, you get 50%. And 0.5, isn't that 5 in the 10th place? Take out that decimal. 5 in the 10th place. Now isn't 5 half of 10, and 50 half of 100, and 1 half of 2? See how all these could be written as part of 100, okay? This could be multiplied, if you just multiplied each one by 10, it'd be 50 out of 100. Just so you know, part of a whole, each one could be expressed as part of 100. So let's look at that, doing number 3 on your homework. It says 2/5 is equal to what percent? 2/5 equals what percent? Now remember that when you have 2/5 of a percentage, it's part of a whole. It's 2/5 of 100. It's 2/5 of a whole. And I've showed students 2 ways to do this kind of problem. 1, you could do the around the world trick. You start at the bottom, you go 5 goes into 100, 20 times, keep that in your head. 20 times 2 is 40, 40%. Or you could do the drawing version, right? I have a shape. I cut it into fifths, because this is 2/5. I want to shade 2 of them. All of these should add up to 100, the whole thing. And each box needs to be what to make 100? Well, 20 plus 20 plus 20 plus 20 plus 20 makes 100. 2 of them are shaded. That's 40. 20 and 20 makes 40%. Some students like to draw and be visual. Some like to just remember, oh, around the world. 5 goes into 100, and that number multiplies by 2. Okay? In doing that, let's look at number 5. 1/3 is equal to. 1/3 is equal to what percent? All right? So 1/3 of a whole. Now it doesn't give you that number. You need to remember that a percent or a fraction or decimal is part of a whole, part of 100. So around the world trick, 3 goes into 100. 33 1/3 times. 33 1/3 times 1 is 33 1/3%. Now, there are always mathematical ways to solve these kinds of problems, But let me just tell you, you need to memorize, okay? You should be memorizing that 10% is 0.1, and that 50% is 0.5, and that a half is 50, and that a fifth is 20. You should just know that a fifth is 20%. You should know that a third is 33 and a third percent, and 2/3 would be 66 and 2/3 percent, and 3/3 would be 99 and 3/3 percent, which is 100, because you have a whole 3/3, right? You should know that an eighth is 12.5%. There's certain numbers that you need to memorize. Just like when you were in 2nd grade and 3rd grade and memorized your multiplication facts, 5th grade, you should be memorizing your percents, fractions, and decimals. All right, if you have any questions about that, then come and see me, and I would be glad to help. Thanks a lot. Bye.